Agency Leadership Live. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. And I guess in normal times, we'd be looking at this as a shortened holiday week. And I guess it still is a shortened holiday week, but things are all just a little bit different now in limbo. But in any case, I've got a great topic on tap for you today. We're going to talk about agency alumni and why you shouldn't be overlooking their importance. And this is something that a lot of agencies, I think, are not taking advantage of enough or not thinking about enough. So I think it's a useful topic to get into to kick off this week. And particularly if things are a little bit slower for you this week, maybe it's an opportunity if you're still working to do some outreach to some of your own former employees. So, alumni, former employees, we all talk about how in agencies, the biggest resource that we have, our greatest asset, are our team members. And that's absolutely true. But we also have to remember that even after they are no longer in our employ, and this is whether they're W-2 employees or contractors or whatever form they may take, once they've gone on to other places, they're still a valuable asset for your agency. And that asset can be appreciating or depreciating. A lot of it depends on how you treat them as employees, but as much depends upon how you treat them on their way out the door and after they have left. So let's think about it, and I'm going to share with you over the next few minutes at least 6 reasons that you ought to be paying attention to them more and thinking about how they can be helpful to you in growing your business. And so first and foremost, at the top of this list, number one, you can't overlook it, is reputation. Reputation is so critical to agencies because we're not really differentiating based on features of a product or things like that. People can get their hands on it. It really is our reputation as individuals and as a firm that helps clients determine if they want to work with us. And some of that, a good piece of that, comes down to what they hear from people who used to work for you. So you need to be cognizant of that, first of all, in how you're treating them as employees, as I said before, but also in what you're doing to help them on the outside. And particularly right now, it's a challenging time for agencies. Many of you have had to let people go or cut salaries or take other steps that are really painful both for you and for your current or former employees. So you need to be thinking about how can you soften that blow? How can you help them? If you've had to lay someone off, try to think about how you can help them have a soft landing somewhere else, how you can help them find that next opportunity. If someone is on the outside and they're looking for a job, maybe it's because they got laid off from somewhere else, step in, try to help, try to make the connections for them that will help them get that next opportunity. Because those are the kinds of things that will help your reputation as a boss, it will help your reputation as a business, and it will also help those employees, and they will remember that. So you need to think about that from a reputational perspective. But the other thing that you can do with your employees beyond just helping them find other opportunities once they're on the outside, you can also keep them informed. Let them know what you're doing as an agency. Keep them up to date. Have an email list. Maybe occasionally bring people together. If you have folks in an area where you can get together, great, do it. If you have to do it by Zoom or something like that, fine, do it. But take advantage of it. I mean, alumni are something that schools think about, but it's something that businesses should be thinking about as well. No matter how long you've been in business, chances are you have former employees and contractors. Even most of you who may be solos right now have people that you used to work with. Maybe they're just between projects and you plan on bringing them back. But think of them as alumni and think about how they can help your reputation by understanding what it is that you're doing and by trying to help them in whatever way that they need help. So reputation is number one on this list, and it's something that you need to be thinking about. The second thing you want to be thinking about with alumni, though, is the new business opportunities. And this is, again, an area that I think a lot of agencies overlook. If you think about your network of former employees and contractors as folks who can help make introductions for you, that can be beneficial to both parties. It may be that they've gone on to another agency but that doesn't do exactly the same kind of work that you do. They can make referrals for you. Maybe they've gone on to the brand side and so they could hire you directly. I can't tell you how many times over the years I've actually had former employees and contractors hire my firm to do something. And so you want to think about those opportunities and actively explore them. And a lot of that comes down to how you've treated them as former employees and how you've continued your outreach and how you've built your reputation to try to help them out. You want to be networking and having conversations with them, making sure that they are up to date on the new services that you're providing and any changes that have taken place in your firm since they've left. You want to be helping make introductions amongst the people in your network because perhaps if you connect two former employees together and they work on a project, maybe they'll then bring you in to help out as well. So you have to, one of the things that I would really stress here is you need to get beyond the idea that once someone has left your firm, they are no longer part of the family. And I know, particularly when you have someone who leaves to take another opportunity, many times agency owners will sit there and see it as a betrayal. It's not. It's really, really healthy to have some degree of turnover in your business. You don't want to have employees cycling through all the time. And if you're turning over 50% of your staff every year, well, that's a problem. But you do want to have some movement because it helps to expand your network. It helps to indicate that your team is talented and in demand. And it does open up new doors and new opportunities if you are thinking about it and finding ways to take advantage of it. So new business and the networking that your alumni network provides can be really beneficial. And if you have ideas on how to take advantage of your alumni network, be sure to share those in the comments here, and I'll share some of them while we're live, or other folks will be able to see it if you're watching this on replay. The next on the list is Boomerang Employees. And a lot of times, agencies will have an employee leave, go work somewhere else, but eventually come back into the family. And so part of the way you do that is by maintaining a strong alumni structure. And it can be formal by having those get-togethers that I talked about or having newsletters, or it may be informal. It may just be that you cycle through your former employees and make sure you're reaching out to them on, say, a quarterly or semi-annual basis. Anything that you can do to maintain those connections over the course of time will be helpful. And if you're able to bring back someone who used to work for you, who did a good job, who's now gone on, they've picked up some additional skills, they've built their own network, bringing those people in can be particularly valuable. And that's because it's very challenging to do hiring in the best of times. It's very challenging to find the right people. Even the best hiring managers tend to strike out a fair bit. There's only so much you can know about someone when you're bringing them into your business for the first time. But if you've got a Boomerang employee, if you're hiring someone who is an alumnus of your firm, you already know a lot about them. You know how they work. You know how they get along with other team members. You know what their strengths and weaknesses are. Hopefully they've continued to build on their strengths as they've moved on to other places and they've managed to get through some of their weaknesses or compensate for them. If you can then bring them back as Boomerang employees, you are now in a much better place. You don't need to fully educate them on your agency's culture. You don't need to change their minds about how they work or those kinds of things because they know it. They know how you are. And so if a Boomerang employee can be a real asset. So work on your alumni base in order to be able to capture those Boomerang employees when you need to increase your talent pool. Next on the list is recruiting, and this is recruiting beyond that individual. Some of the best places to find new employees are through your existing employees, but also through your former ones, because they know, again, how you work and what kinds of people would be good fits. They know your culture and they can say, hey, Sally would be fantastic working for your agency, or Johnny would be not so much of a fit, so I'm not going to refer him. So take advantage of your alumni to find those people that you need to build and grow your firm in the future. And you do that by conducting that outreach to stay in touch, but then doing the outreach when it is time for you to do recruiting. So you can share those job listings with people who already know you. And so think about how you can do that outreach and get the referrals. Maybe you even want to put an incentive program in place for alumni who refer people who end up being hired and are successful hires. They stick around for 3 months successfully, for example. You might want to pay out a referral fee to that former employee because it's a great way to pre-vet people and bring them into your business without that same question mark that appears over folks that you've never heard of before. So think about how you can tap your alumni network for recruiting. Next is partnerships. And this is particularly true if you've got former employees who have gone out and started their own agency. But it's if you've got someone who's gone out and joined another agency, there are plenty of opportunities for partnership. And one of the things that I have seen a lot of since we've had all of the craziness of 2020 is more agencies partnering together to meet the needs of their client base and to find new opportunities. So if you're if you've got an agency that has one specialty and you've got a former employee, an alumnus who is either running or at an agency that has a different specialty, figure out where that Venn diagram overlaps and where it is that you can find chances to work together and find ways to grow each of your businesses. These partnerships can be useful too if someone has left the agency world and perhaps gone on to work for a service provider or someone else that's tangentially related to the business that you're doing. Those are folks who understand who are good clients for you. They understand how they can work with you. They can understand, that it takes away a lot of the uncertainty that exists in many agency partnerships if you already know each other. And it opens the doors to new opportunities that can help with growth. And we're all looking for growth right now. So take advantage of your alumni for those kinds of opportunities. And then vendors and service providers. Many people leave the agency world and they may go work for a media monitoring company or other software business, or maybe they go on to work for another kind of service provider, a law firm or something like that. In fact, I know one agency owner who transitioned from agency world to the legal world. And so anytime that you can find vendors and service providers from your own alumni network, people who, again, they know you, they know how you operate, they're not going to steer you incorrectly because they know what is a good fit for your agency. And so if you're able to work with folks who used to work for your agency but now work for one of these vendors, you can come up with some really good solutions for your clients and for your business. So take advantage of your alumni network for those kinds of things. Now, so those are at least 6 ways that you can take advantage of your alumni network. But how do you continue to cultivate these relationships? And a lot of it is treating your alumni network in the same way that you do your new business pipeline. You need to be tracking the folks in your network. You need to have a list of them. If you've only got a few because you're a small agency, haven't been around that long, maybe you can just do this in a spreadsheet. But as you start to get bigger, you want to build a database of your former employees. I've worked for some pretty good sized firms before. They have hundreds of former employees, very large potential alumni associations. Maybe you even want to think about doing something formal and calling it an alumni association. A lot of those folks may be getting together on their own anyway, so why not give them an opportunity to operate under an umbrella that you create, and you create the opportunities for engagements. Maybe you create a special Slack channel just for your former employees. Maybe it's a Facebook group. Maybe you're sharing that email newsletter that's just targeted at alumni. Maybe it's an opportunity for the alumni to share opportunities with each other, right? So one of the ways that you can serve your alumni network as an agency is not by necessarily asking for help yourself or delivering direct help, but merely being the facilitator. If you can bring together your former employees and try to make connections amongst them, maybe one of them is in a business where they're hiring and they can find someone else from your alumni network, even if you're not hiring at that time. So that's an opportunity. Maybe you can help cultivate new business relationships amongst alumni. And you need to, if you've been in business for a while, make sure that you're reaching back and talking to people that maybe you haven't talked to in 5 or 10 years. I can't tell you over the past few months how many times I've talked with someone that I haven't had a conversation with for a decade or more. These are former colleagues, former employees, people that I fell out of touch with. Not intentionally in most cases, it was simply we went on different paths and there was no obvious need to connect. The people that are in your alumni network where there's no obvious need to connect, those are the best people to be talking to right now because that's how you're going to uncover new ideas and new avenues of success for both of you. And you really need to treat this alumni network as that kind of a two-way street. It's not merely for you to go out and figure out how can I get a new client or how can I hire an employee. It's how can I help them. And that idea of being of service to your alumni, of helping them out, those are the kinds of things that will help you build the reputation for you and your agency so that you can have greater success. And there's also, frankly, that personal satisfaction that I think most of us get, particularly those of us who are in the agency world. Many of us tend to be people pleasers. And so if we can find a way to make other people happy, if we can find a way to make those connections and help someone transition into a new opportunity, help someone else find a new client, those are things that will just give us real satisfaction, even beyond the immediate business benefit. But they will all have long-term business benefits to you. You may not even realize how much your alumni network is helping you. On the flip side, you may not realize just how much your alumni network is harming you. And many agencies have challenges because they've ground down their existing employees who then become former employees. They get frustrated. They go out and they complain all the time about their former employer. You don't want to be that kind of agency. And it's very difficult to address that in the reputational sphere, but you need to work hard at it. You need to be doing that outreach. There are plenty of colleges and universities that may have had alumni with bad experiences while they were students, but they're able to recover it by, to at least some degree, by how they service them as alums, how they bring people together, how they make those connections. You can do the same thing as an agency. You can find those ways to bring people together and help them find their own path forward. So take advantage of everything that you've got going for you as a business. Take advantage of the resources that you have. Take advantage of the fact that your network is probably broader than most of your former employees, because chances are you've been in business longer. You've had a longer professional career. Find ways to help them. If you are helpful, if you are finding ways to be useful to your alums, they will in turn help you when the time is right. And so that's a clear benefit for you. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. Hopefully I've given you some ideas as to how you can tap your own alumni network. I encourage you, take some time this week or this month over the summer. Find ways to reach out, find ways to identify what your former employees are up to, and see how you can be of service to them. And if you do, it will come back to you and benefit you over time. So with that, thank you all for joining me today. I'll be back here on Wednesday. I've got a special guest who'll be joining me. We'll be talking about the future of small agencies. So noon Eastern time on Wednesday on YouTube or Facebook. Tune in, and I look forward to our next conversation.